Right, hello everybody. Welcome to today's trading podcast. In this podcast, we're going to be reviewing the trading week ahead from today, the 21st of September, through to the 25th. So, and it's these events that we're going to be going through that have the ability to generate movement, and that movement is the thing that's going to create opportunity for us as home traders, and that's what we're going to be going through. My name's Adrian Boothie. I'm the head of trading here at Trend Signal, and as ever, I'm joined with our chief analyst Jerry Miller, who's going to help take us through the economics, the events, and what's actually going on. Jerry, hi, are you there?
I am indeed. Morning all. Hello.
Excellent. So, well, this is my sort of favorite part of the podcast. We do two podcasts a week. One sort of reviews what's happened, what do we know, and now we can look at what don't we know yet, and that's really looking at the main events coming up for the week ahead. So, Jerry, why don't you kick us off? What don't we know yet? What will we know by the end of today?
Well, last week we had, three central bank monthly policy meetings, which dominated the news. And this week we've got central bank members on the calendar, littered through the calendar all week. I don't know how many times. I think Jay Powell is speaking 4 times this week.
He's going to need a lie down at the end of by the end of Thursday. He's got a day off on Friday, hasn't he? Bless him.
That's his on the 5th day he rested. Yeah, quite right. He needs a rest. But it is extraordinary. I've not seen so much in the way of sort of scheduled speeches by one central bank. I mean, anyway, there we go.
Anyone would think there's a bit going on at the moment.
Yeah. Well, there is a bit of a coincidence with things that are happening, but yeah, there's from testimonies to speeches to God knows what. But anyway, we start off this week. There's a holiday in Japan. For those of you who are wondering why the Nikkei was unchanged, it's a holiday today and tomorrow, so we won't get the US market, the Japanese markets reacting. And if the way things are going at the moment, the Nikkei is going to have a bit of a swoon on Wednesday when it sees what's happened today. So we have the first one of Jay Powell. He's the chairman of the Federal Reserve, the central bank of the United States. So when he talks, the market listens, and he might drop a few clues about what they've been discussing, some personal thoughts and preferences that he might have, which can influence the market. It certainly can influence the currency markets and definitely the stock market. But that would be interesting if you said something bearish to give it another kick this afternoon. Crikey. So that's this afternoon. Tuesday, we'll jump another day. We have our Andrew Bailey, the governor of the Bank of England. It's difficult getting used to his name actually, but yeah, he's talking a couple
last week actually. You get so used to certain names, don't you?
Yeah, you do. I mean, he's a little less public than Mark Carney. He sort of speaks when he has to speak, but he's talking at the British Chamber of Commerce. But like most things at the moment, it's an online event, and again, anything that the governor of any of the major central banks says can be picked up by the markets, and it can cause a bit of volatility. So something to watch out for just in case.
Presumably we're on watch to hear anything about negative rates in the UK, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. The way the market reacted last Thursday, anything he says, I suspect he might be thinking, I better not say anything about negative rates. Didn't work last time, but they're quite guarded, these central bankers, but it depends. Sometimes they do let their guard down when they have a Q&A session and say something they shouldn't have said, So Mr. Bailey on Tuesday. Then we go back then later on in the afternoon. We've got Mr. Jay Powell again, Jerome Powell testifying again, or not testifying again, but he is testifying. That's in at the House Financial Services Committee. So that's again in Congress, is what I meant to say.
Is he literally regurgitating the same speech, or is it all talking about different stuff?
Talking about different stuff, actually. Yeah. So whatever the topic is, whatever he's called in to speak about, that's what he'll be talking about. But sometimes, again, they put a blanket high impact sort of reading on it, Forex Factory, because it's possible he can say something that discusses employment or unemployment or monetary policy or interest rates, and that's what drives our markets, Adrian. So we have to be a little bit wary. Suddenly when the guy's talking at 3:30, the market has a complete spike down or up, and everyone says, "Well, what's happening?" And that's often the reason. Right, on to Wednesday, probably the most important day of the week, really, in what, despite the fact that there are quite a few on the calendar, but these are all coming out on one day. This is the Manufacturing and Services PMI. So PMI stands for Purchasing Managers Index. What they do is they poll all the different services and manufacturing businesses for their data. Anything above 50 basically means that the sector is expanding. So you'll note everything is solidly above 50, but it's all relative. So these numbers have had to rebound from the depths of the lockdown in April, May, and June, when the numbers just fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
Anyway, the numbers generally are continuing to improve. We've got the Eurozone, first of all, watching out for any signs of the recovery faltering really in both the Eurozone, UK and US economies. In the UK, the softer numbers are expected, but that's basically after a blowout from the previous month. So you can see the UK numbers, 52, expected 54 on the manufacturing side, but the services are a bit softer. Remember, services are so much bigger than our manufacturing base. It's roughly 80-20. Approximately. In the US, sort of ditto really, in keeping with the UK. We're expecting softer numbers in the US, but still well above 50, which is important.
So 50 is sort of status quo, isn't it, from the prior period?
So the key thing is, if it's better than consensus, it'll be good for, if it's the US data, it'll be better for good for the dollar in sterling. If it's better than consensus, it'll be good for sterling, etc., etc. Worse, it'll cause the currency to weaken and the stock market potentially to weaken, depending on how much it moves. Then we've got Jay Powell with his daily speech. He's this one actually is quite interesting, because this one's about the impact of the COVID-19 epidemic. So obviously that's all encompassing. That will probably be the most interesting speech of the week, to be fair. So that is 3 o'clock. And then regular crude oil inventories. Well, with what's going on with crude oil, Adrian, with what was probably a distorted week, it may still be distorted this week with the effects of Hurricane Sally causing that shutdown in the Gulf. But market looks soft, doesn't it, really, after that run up last week?
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, certainly we're expecting last week, what was it, about 2.1?
It was supposed to be a draw, and it was a build, and it was an increase, it was a draw.
Yeah,
that's right.
So that was quite a big shock, hence the rally that we did have. Okay, and Thursday.
Weekly unemployment claims. These are weekly initial unemployment claims, I should say. These are people filing for the first time for unemployment benefit. That doesn't mean unemployment's going up, but it's just a measure of how troubled the economy still is. If you're still getting big bouts of initial unemployment claims, albeit those that have previously claimed, a lot of them have gone back to work, but it's still something we track. And then, Andrew Bailey speaking for the second time this week at 3 o'clock, at the same time that Jay Powell is speaking, who probably will need, as you said at the beginning of this piece, a bit of a lie down now. That'll be his fourth on the trot. But the good news is it is in the same sort of city. That I don't think it's either online or he's in Congress, so he's not having to go too far.
Okay, good, bless him.
And
durable goods really finally on Friday.
Friday, durable goods. Well, they've relegated this to sort of a medium impact number. In days gone by, it used to have a lot greater impact, but it's the core number that we'll watch for. But again, it has been recovering. Any downward revision or any miss on this would undermine the dollar and equities. The core number, by the way, the difference, it excludes the very big ticket items, which actually ironically include aeroplanes. I say ironically because no one's buying any aeroplanes at the moment, but it does distort the number if planes are included.
Okay. Well, I think that's pretty much it for the week. We obviously haven't mentioned too much about the S&B and the RBNZ, who've got their rate statements. But again, there's not really going to be any change in interest rate policy. Are we talking about QE plans over there, Jerry? not too hot on my New Zealand
in New
monetary policy,
Zealand,
to be honest.
well, I think they've actually fared the best out of any developed economy, to be honest. But they are suffering the consequences of other countries slumping, because obviously they don't have their export markets. That's what they rely on. Will be having a significant impact, and of course tourism, there's none of that. So yeah, I'm not altogether sure what's planned there. I haven't really looked into New Zealand, Reserve Bank of New Zealand. It's not something I normally follow, actually. Perhaps I should.
Well, it's okay, not to insult any New Zealanders out there, but it's not quite as important as the US dollar, is it? Shall we say?
But
unless you live there.
Hmm?
Unless you live there, I guess.
Yeah, quite. Well, you know, it's they're not expecting any change. Just looking at what I'm looking at here, which is not surprising. I think they'll probably take their cue from a lot of other central banks, but with rates pretty much close to rock bottom in all developed economies, including New Zealand, really you're left with two options: negative interest rates and more QE.
Yeah, exactly. Certainly, it's been quite strong in the last week or two, the New Zealand dollar, and it does have the ability to create some movement there. So if you're running positions, that, i.e. Looking to hold positions for a week or two, something like that does create an element of risk. So it's often prudent to look to reduce risk into a number like that. And similarly with the Swiss franc for Thursday morning as well. But I think that's pretty much it for the week ahead. Otherwise, everybody, if you would like to come along and learn a bit more about the way we do things here at Trend Signal, we've got our own events this week, which you'd be absolutely welcome to come along to. They're free. And if you want to book an event and come along live, learn a trading strategy, interact, ask questions, find out how you can become a better trader yourself, then get yourself booked in for one of our upcoming events this week. So if you want to look at the schedule to find one that suits you, just go to bit.ly, so bit.ly/learnts, so bit.ly/learnts. Get yourself booked in. We'll teach you one of our favorite trading strategies and help you to become a better trader. But otherwise, for myself and Jerry, have a wonderful week's trading. Hope you make lots and lots and lots of profits, and we'll hopefully see you next time on Monday next week. All the best, and bye-bye for now.